listen, never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
There's no human being on the planet I'd rather be talking to more than David Hess right now. So he's back. He's back on the podcast. Man, after playing another season of the great game of baseball, right?
Yeah.
Right. How are you?
Right.
Good? Good?
I'm good. Yeah, everything's going good. Feeling good physically, and like you said, just excited to be in the off season and training again. And it's a lot better, I think, than last year at this time where I was going through treatment and just I saw some pictures the other day looking back, and I was like, man, we've come a really long way in just a matter of a year. So good to be back here with you, though, for sure.
Well, I think that's a great time to talk. I mean, it's a great lesson. And, in the World Series, we have examples of what a difference a year makes. I think Shane Bieber, right? Shane Bieber wasn't even, he was barely throwing. I remember talking to him in the playoffs last year, and he was barely throwing, and next thing I know, here you go. He's saving the season. So
I was gonna say he's right in the thick of it too. He didn't just get thrown in; he got thrown into, one of the top 2 teams right now. So good for him, man.
I know, but you're the ultimate what a difference a year makes, like you just cited. So I want to talk about what you're doing now. I want to talk about what you did over the course of the season, coming back and playing. But I want to go back to, like you said, a year ago, where you were at with everything, where your mind was at, where your body was at, everything. What was going on?
Yeah, so I guess actually just a couple weeks ago was the year mark of when I had my last chemo treatment. And so looking back kind of at this time last year, my main outlook was just I remember setting a goal in October, and as we're kind of getting into November, I was pacing out, literally walking around my neighborhood for a certain amount of time each day, just to try to kind of quite literally get back on my feet. It had been at that point about 6 months worth of really intense treatment. And so, on top of that, it had been years of treatment beforehand. So we were just hoping and praying that had worked. And I was literally just trying to start moving again, get going. And thankfully, we've progressed quite a ways from there. But, I had kind of let baseball go, to be quite honest with you, through treatment and everything with that. I knew the toll that it had taken on my body, and I guess kind of what a long shot it would be, or how difficult it would be to get back to playing. And so my main goal was just to try to get healthy in general again, not just for baseball purposes, but just to be a normal, 30-ish-year-old guy that could go to the gym and work out and, hang out and just be somewhat normal. So,
Well, so I want to go back to that time, which it was good. It was a great time because you're sort of turning the page. Like you said, you did your last chemo treatment, but with baseball, in that case, it was the World Series between the Dodgers and the Yankees, that postseason. Did you want to watch? Like, were you a guy who wanted to watch?
I don't think in all honesty, I don't think I watched a single playoff game last year because I just, it was tough. Because I knew that I could still, if I was physically able to, I could still play. I was, right around what in baseball terms should be probably your prime. And I think I was a little bit indifferent, just about, I kept up with guys that I knew who were playing and was like, oh, I hope they're having a good playoff run and all that stuff. But it was just difficult because, one, I was exhausted. So even the idea of staying up, playoff games aren't super late, but at the time that did feel late. And so I was tired all the time. And then on top of that, just, like the mental aspect of it, I think because I had gotten to the point, like I said, where I had kind of let it go, that it was still pretty fresh. And I think I just needed a little breather from it just to kind of go through that accepting phase of where life had kind of brought us.
So when do you start falling back in love with baseball? Like, and that's, I
Yeah.
know that's an extreme way of putting it, David, but because you had other priorities, but
Hmm.
like to your point, you're still a baseball player. You're still of the age where you can be a baseball player. You still have the talent level to be a baseball player. When do you start falling
Yep.
in love with the idea of becoming a baseball player again?
Yeah. So I would say that probably hit about December. Right around, I remember as I started to kind of feel a little bit better and progress. I was also coaching a high school team, or I was one of the assistant coaches. And I remember as we started to kind of get going with everything, I started getting back in the gym and, I started getting my eyebrows and my beard back. So I started looking like a normal guy again. And it was really funny because right around Christmas time, me and my wife, we were actually driving to Tennessee to visit my family. And, you have 5 hours in the car, you get to talk and, just check in how everything's going and whatnot. And we both kind of had a moment where we were just kind of like, what do you think about baseball? What do we think that's done? And I always, said, I kind of, my prayer, my thought, whatever you want to call it, was, um, if this is something that's going to happen, you're going to have to make it abundantly clear to my wife before me, because she's the one that's going to have to put up with the chaos of baseball being back. And, you know, the seed was planted when she was like, I don't think we're done yet. And I was like, I don't
Oh
either.
man, that's you
And
know what that is? That's Adrian and Rocky too.
that's it, man. That's it.
That's
And
win.
and yeah, and so the crazy thing about it is, uh I took spring classes at Clemson. So I'm finishing up my biochemistry degree. I still got one semester left because, I'm here training right now in the off season. But one of the cool things that our high school team got to do in the spring was go play at Truist Park. So, we're driving down there and it's fun for the guys, the boys to get to go and play on a big league field and everything like that. And on the way down, we were talking again, and we just kept saying like we're gonna know at the end of this trip kind of where we stand with everything. And that was, I guess, probably in March. I think whenever it was right around spring break time for high school and college.
Mm.
And driving down, we just were kind of like, all right, what's going to happen? What are we going to feel? What are we going to think? And we left saying that we're definitely not done. Like being out there again, like I mean, she said sitting up in the stands, like she like could not stop thinking about me being back out on the baseball field, and I couldn't either. So at that point, I would say, physically, I was starting to feel a little bit better, and we had, decided both of us together to kind of pursue it and see what would come of it if I, just gave it another go.
As a quick aside, what was the motivation behind the biochemistry degree?
Yeah, so I've always loved science stuff. And I remember actually my grandpa passed from cancer when I was pretty young. And so I always said that I wanted to do something, whether it be research or whether it be, in whatever kind of medical field I could, just to help people. And so biochemistry was when I was at Tennessee Tech what I started with, and then got drafted. And so Clemson, being right up the road, they have a really great biochem department, and so they actually do it. It's kind of cool over there. It's a biochem and genetics combination.
Mm.
So it really hit the inner science nerd of me. But it's always something that I've enjoyed and kind of been passionate about. And especially now that I've gone through everything I have, I just think that it's a really good opportunity for me to create an impact with, the little bit of brain that I have, I guess.
Well, as an aside to the aside, what since you like science, what is and I know that this isn't what you're talking about isn't in direct relationship to baseball, but science is integrating itself into baseball more and more. Is there anything
Yeah.
that interests you in that respect? Because we desperately, David, try not to be old men at yelling at clouds. Me, I'm speaking from my right. Like there's and these departments are these baseball front offices. You see advertisements for literally scientists. Like we want
Yeah.
scientists. And again, I know that what you're talking about isn't necessarily a direct correlation, but is there anything,
Mhm.
especially now that you've been in it this year, is there anything that scratches where you itch in terms of science and baseball?
Yeah, I that's something actually I have been kind of thinking about and exploring. I mean the biomechanics of, well, so biochemistry is really just understanding how your body works and why it ticks the way it does. And so the idea of that being applied with like biomechanics and how your body moves on a functional baseball level, I think it's really cool. I think there's a lot of benefit and value to it. And I think when you compare that with the experience, like you said, the head knowledge of everything plus what the eyeballs are seeing, so the old school and the new school coming together, I think that's a really, really great match. And I know there's a lot of guys that are getting into that field. One of the guys I was with this summer, Ryan Dole, he played for a while in the big leagues. He was one of our assistant coaches, and he's kind of doing that too. So I guess that's a roundabout answer of saying, yeah, there's definitely interest, but I don't know exactly what it would look
Mm.
like. Um, but I'm definitely open to it. Hopefully that's in like, 10 years after a long, long
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
career.
I mean, I
But
don't want to put cart
uh,
before the horse here. So, to get back on track into your year, because I love the. I'm sorry, I always default to movie references, but when your wife says that,
I'm with you.
oh, it was like in case people don't know, it's where Rocky, Adrian says win, just win, and it changes Rocky's whole
Yep.
perspective. And it just hits. I had something along the line. I don't want to bring it back to me, but like when I was doing the marathon, the one time my
Hmm.
wife didn't want me to do it, I was like, I didn't do well. I quit
Yep. That's
halfway
right.
through.
That's how it
And
goes.
then, but the next
Yep.
year it was like, no, don't do it. And so I know what you're talking about to a certain
Yeah.
degree. So when you decide to play and what was your hope? You start throwing, you start training, you start working out, you end up with the High Point Rockers Independent League. What what was your
Hmm.
hope and how did that process go? Did it go like you thought it would?
Yeah, I mean, my outlook was I can still do this. I just need an opportunity to be able to showcase that. And I was hoping originally, with my agent, we got together and started, kind of trying to reach out, and we got some video and all that stuff to send out. And we were hoping that an affiliate would give an opportunity, but we also kind of knew that would be a little bit of a long shot because, when you've been through a little bit of you know, a medical turmoil there for a little bit,
Mhm.
and on top of that, just not pitching for a few years. I think the proof of health and the proof of ability still kind of needed to happen before an opportunity like that would come up. And so we kind of started looking toward a few independent ball teams, primarily that were close to our, where we're at in Greenville. And High Point was originally where we were hoping, because it's a few hours up the road. They were doing really well at the time, and it just seemed like it was a good fit from the sounds of what I'd heard, people say about it. So we get everything out, and at this point I'm coaching a summer travel ball team. And I'm kind of on a week to week basis with them because I'm like, hey guys, like if I hear something, I might be out of here next week. Like I hope y'all don't need me too much. And so that time came, ironically, the week of my birthday. I think the day after my birthday is when I committed to go play. And I think originally when I got in touch with them was my birthday in July. So, um, it was kind of it was just a wild experience how it all came together. And I remember getting there and I joked around with the guys because I was like, y'all, I really don't know what this is going to look like. And the manager there was like, hey, we won the first half. We've made the playoffs. We can do things the right way with you, knowing your situation and your circumstances. We can approach this probably in a way where, if you go out and you're terrible, all right, well, we gave it a shot. And if you're incredible, even better. Now you can maybe help us go win some more games. And so the joke that I came in saying was, guys, I don't know if this first outing is going to be 85 or 95, but I'll give you all I got. And yeah, so my first series, so we get everything set up and I'm like, hey, I have a tournament, this weekend I got to finish up so I can get there Monday. Or yeah, Monday. Monday is a travel day or off day. So Tuesday was the travel day, and our manager Jamie, he says, hey, um, I hate to be the one to have to tell you this, but we got a 4 a.m. bus tomorrow to go up to Pennsylvania. I was like, I don't care if that bus was 15 hours at 1 a.m. and I had to like, I get to go play baseball again, man. We're having a good time out here. So hop on that bus and we go up there and sure enough we get going and the season and the stats kind of spoke for themselves and it turned out to be pretty good, which I was really, really thankful for.
Yeah, I mean, like to give context, you played in 62 major league games, and the perspective of the love of baseball to get on that bus after playing 62. Because I don't know, people don't know this. You don't take
Yeah.
buses in Major League Baseball. You don't have roommates
No,
in
no,
Major League Baseball.
nope.
So
Yeah, the travel component is a little bit different. And when you're in the big leagues, you get, nice chartered flights, you have some snacks and meals if it's longer on there. It's a little bit more cushy. And then, those 10-hour bus rides with that, you gotta be up at 3:30 or 4 and it really challenges you to see how much you actually care about what you're doing and the sacrifices that you're willing to make. But, that's part of just the journey of it.
but the payoff, as you said, the payoff was that you did really well. Like this, that we
Hmm.
continue the story. Not only you playing, which is a feat in itself in your health and in your performance, but you did very well. And you pitched in 15 games. You had a 1.82 ERA. Um, and could you tell right away that okay, I'm gonna be able to do this? I thought I would be gonna be able to
Hmm.
do it, but I'm gonna be able to do that. Or was that sort of an evolution over those couple months that you were there?
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much right away. I was like, oh, it's like it never left. Now don't get me wrong, I still had to knock some rust off and was cleaning some stuff up just from not doing it for a while, but um, I progressively, as the season went on, felt better and better. Not necessarily in terms of how hard I was throwing, but my off speed got a little sharper. I was bouncing back well between my outings, and so overall, I just felt progressively as the year went on. Um, this is something that I can do, and I the joke kind of with my family was like you said, the stats and the numbers, but I gave up. I had a scan that I had to do halfway in, or I guess about halfway into the second half when I was there, so a couple months after. And the week before is when I gave up almost all those runs. So they were joking around basically saying if you didn't have this scan, you probably would have maybe not given up any runs. Um, but yeah, and so that was another thing that was crazy to think about too, is I was doing all of that being, you know, a little over half a year removed from being in chemo. So like I said, in, October and November of last year, I'm planning out my walks around the neighborhood just to try to get going again. And, fast forward to July through, September, I guess even into October a little bit, to be pitching it at a high level. The whole time I think everybody was was shocked that I was doing what I was doing, and most of all, I was shocked. I feel like there's no challenge that's put in front of me that's too big, but when you actually see some of those things happening, you kind of still are hit by it a little bit. Like, man, I knew I could do it. I thought I could, but now that we're actually doing it, this is crazy that we're actually here. So it was a lot of fun. It's a grind, of course. Indie ball in itself, anybody that's been there will tell you that it is, but it was a grind that, was much more enjoyable because of where I'd been and getting back there.
What is I'm interested in the indie ball thing because you beyond the bus rides, but when you what do you have at your disposal for indie ball? In other words, you're getting guys out. Do they have
Hmm.
do they have the analytics? Do they have the metrics? Do they have whatever TrackMan? Do they have this stuff to say, okay, not only getting guys out, but your stuff is also playing? Because I think a lot of people say, oh well, indie ball, it's basically like you're rolling out. It's on a 3-inch grass, infields. It's
Hmm.
not being drugged or whatever it is, or whatever,
Yeah.
with no fences. It's and I know, no, obviously that's not it, but I
Right.
think there it is good baseball, and there is also like there are more and more and more examples of guys. I think more than ever, David, for whatever I think in large part because of how things are measured of people
Yep.
making that jump. So again, this is my long-winded way of asking you like what it was like.
Yeah, it was to your point, it's from where I remember indie ball being, 5 years ago to now, it's come a very long way. You still, some of the playing surfaces can be rough. But the talent level that was there, I don't want to say I was surprised by because you can find good ball players all over the place. But I mean, I think on our team, we probably had 5 or 6 guys that had a pretty decent amount of major league time, who were, for whatever reason they were dealing with was just trying to get some reps to prove they could still do it. And so, um, the analytics side of things, that every stadium had TrackMan. Sometimes it was maybe not as calibrated as well as you would have liked for it to be, but you have access to everything, and so you're able to kind of gauge stuff. And I think that it's come a very, very long way in what they have to offer and provide. Um, and I think the question, and for me, coming into the second half, that's when the draft happens. That's when the trade deadline goes on. And so you don't see a lot of activity in terms of guys getting signed at that point. Um, but I think I was in the Atlantic League, and I think there were quite a few guys in the first half that got picked up, whether from High Point or from other teams. And so a lot of those guys go to a pretty high level right away. Whether, some guys double A, triple A, some younger guys might go to A ball. But I mean, the competition level was pretty good. So I feel like if you're getting good results there, it's not because you're just, to your point, like you're not just rolling out of bed, going out and, eating a couple hot dogs
Yeah,
and then go
you get
playing and,
uniforms and everything.
messing
It's
around.
incredible.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I was pleasantly surprised by, kind of what the league looked like, the caliber of players, um, and I mean overall it was a good experience.
So I'm just looking at your roster, and you're right about major league experience, and this gives some perspective. Alex Dickerson, Luis Gonzalez,
Hmm.
Jordan Luplow, Kyle Barraclaw, Sam Clay, Tommy Davis, Ken Emanuel, um, Andre Scrub. There's guys like there's guys
Oh
who have
yeah,
major league experience. Um, so
yeah.
you end the season. And first of all, like you have the successful scan, like that's still going in the right direction, correct? Your health.
Yep.
So that's the most
Yeah,
important
and that
thing.
was a big one. That's
Yeah.
right. That was with just, a quick insert on that. That was I when I had that scan, everything came back good, and that was the 1 year mark of remission. And so with my particular cancer that I had, getting to that 1 year mark, their survivability rate is tremendously better. So I mean, there's always going to be stress with scans and health and making sure everything looks good, but getting to that 1 year mark was a big weight off of everybody's back, I
And
think.
what was the date on that about? Do you know?
It was, I don't remember the exact date. It was mid-September though.
Mid-September. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And when, like you said, that's the year mark. Is that sort of another thing in the back of your mind where you're like, okay, here we go. Like
Yeah.
another, because you're doing well. You got the go ahead from the wife. You
Yep.
train, you get signed, you play, you do well, but now you get the scan and you're doing well again. And so it's like, okay, here we go. Like
Yeah.
is that the feeling?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I guess the best way I can describe it is, like I said from the beginning, the goal was to get back to the big leagues, to get with an affiliate. And so I feel like almost as all these boxes are being checked, it's kind of creating, for lack of a better term, a resume, for to be able to present to these teams. Like, all right, health check, we're good to go with that. Physical ability and just being able to pitch again, check. Now we have some TrackMan data that can support that, and just as we're going through this, there just seems to be more and more traction. Um, to kind of get us to where we are now and feeling good about everything.
So you end the season and now where's your are you able to take a breath? I mean, the season ends in early October. Are you able to take a breath? And also, do you actually want to watch the World Series this time around? It's
I I do want to watch the World Series. I've been keeping up with it a lot closer this year. It's just different when you're kind of in it again. You know what I mean? Because now I'm not looking at it as something that I was like, I guess, reminiscing on or missing out on. I'm looking at it now as something like, man, like next year at this time, I want to be here with you talking about how crazy a playoff experience was to be another year, further down the line. And so now it's serving more as a motivation for me, to remind me of as I'm training and getting ready for everything this off season and hoping for an opportunity with somebody that's the goal. That, it's not just to get signed with the team and not just a feel good story anymore. It's I want to be with somebody that's going to compete and I want to help that team win and get to the highest level possible. And so I don't know what that's going to look like. But like you said, I'm home and I've been training. I'm working with Tread out of Charlotte.
oh nice. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm working with them and trying to do everything I can to put myself in not just a position to get an opportunity to keep playing, but to do it well. Because I think that at this point, I know, I'm not as young as I once was. I can still get the job done, but I want to make sure that when an opportunity comes, I'm ready to capitalize on it as much as possible.
So I just want to finish it off with the overall theme, and that is for everybody. I mean, you allow David for so many lessons, so much inspiration across the board. But I think as we sit here right now, a big piece of the motivation is what a difference a year can make and how
That's right.
you can look at where you are now and where you can be. And there's so many examples we're seeing even on Major League Baseball rosters. We mentioned about Shane Bieber, a guy, Will Klein. I mean, forget about, Will Klein is a guy who, forget about a year, a couple months, he was
Yep.
DFA'd. So, and next thing
Yeah.
you know, he's a World Series hero. There's so many
Yep.
examples of guys of what a difference a year makes. So, for you, if you were sort of getting in front of players or people, I don't know if how you can encapsulate that because I think it's so powerful and so important. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's it's tough to put in, like you said, to just a short a short snippet, short, winded way of saying it, because there are a lot of layers to it. And, one thing I will say that kind of pairs with it is a lot of the best way that I've heard it described is people will see you on the mountaintop, but they don't see the journey on the backside of the mountain. And so, with that, like especially, I mean, seeing this in Indy Bowl, the guys that have success are the guys that put the work in. I mean, you have guys that can show up to the park and just kind of get quick work in, but they're going to be limited because the not always is this the case, but you put yourself in a better position to succeed when you work hard, when you start doing the right things and putting that in place. And a lot of times that's, it's not the sexy thing. It's not what's going to, be on Instagram and catch people's attention, but it's being consistent and doing the little things that sometimes suck and a lot of times are going to be hard, but that in the end it's going to put you in the best position to have the most success. And that I think that applies from a baseball standpoint as much as it does anything else. It's being consistent and doing the little things well. I think that eventually will show up and you're going to be like, man, it's crazy how we got here. But then you look back and you see it was a bunch of footsteps. It wasn't these giant strides forward. It was a bunch of consistent, steady steps in the right direction.
Well, your footsteps have led you to educating and inspiring us on this podcast. Speaking of podcasts, the 41 Life Pod, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
tell me a little bit about it.
minute.
I know that we talked about it before, but tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we've I guess technically done one season. I think that's what we were calling it, but really that's just our story. Me and my wife started that just to kind of share our experiences and what we've been through. And if you happen to see the video on there, it's crazy because we went through everything when we started that, having no idea when what it was going to look like. I mean, it's going to sound really morbid, but when we started that, we didn't even know if we were going to be able to finish it, because if treatment didn't work well, I may not have made it much further. I know that sounds drastic, but looking back at it now and the last episode, spoiler for anybody that does decide to go watch, we finished that first season and kind of wrapped it up when I had just gotten my first clean scan that I had ever had, a fully clean scan. And so that was really cool to kind of see that happen in real time and have that documented to be able to go back and watch and listen to. But we're not done with it. We just don't know exactly what next steps are going to quite look like. We've discussed some things, but life's been a little chaotic, as we've talked about. So we're trying to get our bearings straight and make sure that we can do it well. But we do have intentions of continuing with it, and we're just kind of trying to get some plans in place for that to happen.
Well, tell your wife she's also an inspiration. So yeah, and obviously you are as well. I really appreciate it, man. Like, last time we talked, I came away, I was like, gave me great perspective. I hope it gave all the listeners great perspective, and this is the second round of that. So I appreciate it.
Right.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, we got more to come. Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on here. And for anybody listening, if you are a baseball fan, which I assume you are, I am looking for a job. I am looking for some teams. So I hope that I'm on a mound for your favorite team soon.
Well, I got the GM meetings, then I got the winter meetings, and I'm gonna make up the T-shirts that said "Sign David Hess" right now.
Hey, I would love nothing more. I'm just excited to see where it takes us, and whatever opportunity comes up, like I said, we'll be ready to go for it.
Well, you've done your part. So, all right, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely appreciate you.